The burden of proof, it's an odd topic, especially for a theist to focus on, but that's what we're in for today. Won't that be fun? Yeah, probably not, but it has to be done because the religious, they don't want to understand where they're going wrong, and they're going wrong a lot. So let's get to it, coming up next. This one would have shown up a little earlier if I hadn't had catastrophic technical problems and lost all my scripts. But hey, it comes when it comes, right? We're returning to JCO Journey and his rather fanatical claims that atheists have a burden of proof, which demonstrably they don't. At least most don't. He clearly doesn't understand, so let's go see if we can tear this down and show where he's wrong. Not that I suspect he cares or anything, but we have to at least try, so let's go do that.
Now let me be clear. In the past, I created videos detailing that atheism is best described as the belief that there is no God.
It doesn't matter what you like, it matters what the individuals who self-identify as atheists actually believe. This is something that tends to be difficult for the religious to handle, mostly because I think they're used to being told what they are from the top, and most things in life don't work that way. Nobody gets to tell me my favorite flavor of ice cream. I get to make that decision on my own. You have absolutely no part in that decision. The religious have problems separating what they want the world to be from what the world actually is. You don't get to tell me what I believe, no matter how much you really wish that you did or how much you believe that it's true. So let's get that out of the way right up front. It doesn't matter what you think atheism should mean. It matters only what self-identified atheists say that it means to them. So with that out of the way, please continue.
Following the philosophical definition used in academia.
Fuck academia. They have a lot of similar problems to the religious. They seem to think that they're an authority, and they're not. Now, if they want to say, for the sake of internal discussions, we're going to define this word in this way to keep things clear and consistent in our own discussions, I've got no problem with that. Knock yourself out. However, there is a very real distinction to make between things you do for your own personal convenience and clarity and what is actually true in the outside world. Because the second you lost that distinction, you get people like JCO here who think that's actually what the world means, and that's not how that works, is it? I get to define myself any damn way I please, and you have no say in the matter whatsoever. No one does. If you want to know what I mean by atheism, ask me. Just as if I want to know what you mean by Christianity, I'm going to ask you. I don't just get to assume that this is what you mean. I have to ask what you personally, individually mean by the words that you use. Because that's how rational conversations happen. And nobody cares if you like it or not.
While I still believe this is the most precise way to define atheism, for this discussion, I will include the popular definition among certain self-proclaimed atheists, the lack of belief that there is a God.
You don't have a choice. This is another thing that a lot of people, not just theists, think is that they get to define what other people think because that's what they really want it to be. But that's not how that works. Atheism is specifically the lack of belief in gods. A is without. Theos is gods. Atheism is literally the lack of belief in gods. To the Greek. This is something that I see all the time. Who knows if he's going to go there, but a lot of modern theists, they seem to think that this is something new. And it's not. This is pretty much the definition atheists have given their atheism since time immemorial. What we tend to see from history is how the religious have defined atheism, not how atheists have done it themselves. Mostly, the atheists were trying not to get their asses killed by the religious, and they didn't have a lot of time to sit there and debate definitions with the people who were out to kick their asses. This isn't something new, and it isn't something out of the ordinary. This is just what atheism is. It is the state of not being a theist. Just ask atheists if you want to know the real truth. Of course, they don't want to know the real truth, do they? Wonder why?
I mean, it still wouldn't matter which definition you choose, because despite the different definitions, both positions still carry a burden of proof.
And neither one actually does, unless the specific atheist makes positive claims about the existence of any gods. Repeating your own demonstrably wrong position over and over and over again doesn't make that position right. I have a feeling this whole series is going to come down to this problem specifically, and I'm already predicting it's why this thing is going to short circuit, because just saying dumb stuff again and again and again isn't a basis for just repeating the same "you're just wrong" after every attempt. He has a fundamental misunderstanding of the burden of proof. Lots of theists do. Lots of people do. That's really my purpose in doing this at all, to try to hammer home just how wrong they are. Not that I think anyone really expects them to care. The reason that they're doing it, I think, and anyone who disagrees is certainly welcome to correct me down in the comments, is that they desperately want to get off the hot seat that they have voluntarily put themselves on. It's an attempt to shift the burden of proof away from themselves and to make themselves happy. And no, that's not going to work either.
Previously in my videos, which argued that atheism is best understood as the belief that there is no God, were not well received by some viewers who admits not watching them while strawmanning my position. I stand by this definition because it aligns with the philosophical and academic understanding of the word atheism.
Then you don't understand how words work either. Now, that's not that hard to understand because a lot of people simply don't. Definitions are prescriptive, not descriptive. A dictionary doesn't describe what words mean, it lists how words are used. That's why definitions change over time, because people use words in different ways. And as more people start to use these words in a new or novel way, the dictionaries will change their definition to reflect those new usages. They will mark old usages that have fallen out of favor as archaic. So you're already in trouble because you don't get how language operates. And like I said, a lot of people don't understand that, and that's why these discussions go nowhere. You don't get to tell other people how they're allowed to use words, and neither does academia. I see a lot of armchair philosophers trying to pull this too, and it doesn't work for them any better than it's going to work for JCO. But hey, what do I know, right? Let's continue.
However, I do recognize that many people identify as atheists by stating they just lack the belief in a God rather than actively believing there is no God. It's crucial to understand that whether one defines atheism as the belief that there is no God or as a lack of belief in a God, both positions carry a burden of proof.
You notice he got that wrong, right? What he had on screen is on the one side, believe that there is no God, and on the other, lack of belief there is no God. Wouldn't the second one make you a theist? Because we've done videos where the theists tried to pull that, and it didn't work out so well for them, did it? If you lack belief that there is no God, then you have no overriding justification for running around trying to convert people, do you? Atheists generally don't bring up their atheism except in a response to the religious forcing the discussion. We have no Great Commission. We have no demand to deconvert the world. The rise of atheism has only come about as a response to the assholification of religion. You people did it to yourselves, and now we're winning. Good job.
This reason is simple. Both stances make a claim. The belief that there is no God is a direct claim, a claim that one believes there is no God, while the lack of belief in a God is also a claim that one lacks to believe there is a God.
That's stupid, though. I am not making a claim. I am reporting what is going on inside my own head. I don't have to prove that to anyone, and this is just a desperate stretch just so we can keep a series of videos going. If I say that I like chocolate ice cream, I don't have to prove that to anyone. That is what I like. I'm just telling you what I like. So long as I'm only relating my own personal preferences, I have no burden of proof. This is something else that the religious don't understand. So let me explain it in very small words. If you say, well, I believe there is a God, I would just say, cool, whatever. You are just telling me what's going on inside your own head. You are providing to me your own personal preferences and your own personal beliefs. And honestly, I don't care. The same would go if you'd said, I believe in aliens. Okay, so what? Because that's different from saying aliens actually exist. Now you're making a claim about something that's going on in objective reality, and that's where you pick up the burden of proof. I don't care what you believe, but the second it leaves your head and enters the realm of reality, that's a different matter entirely. Now, I'm going to let him keep on going, but I'm sure this is going to come up again. And when it does, I'll explain further then.
To differentiate between these definitions in these videos I create, I might use the terms lack-theist or non-theist. These terms more accurately capture the position of those who define their atheism as merely just lacking the belief in a God, distinguishing it from the philosophical definition.
You're not going to find a lot of atheists who give a damn about the philosophical definition. Most of us think philosophy, at least when it tries to define the world in self-serving ways, we think it can just go take a long walk off a short pier. You actually have to deal with the world in the way that it is, not in the way that you desperately wish it could be. And this is a major problem with the religious, right? We've seen this time and time again. That's why they get criticized as much as they do. Because, as I was saying, when you start making declarative statements about objective reality, that's when you have to start backing those statements up, and the religious never can. You are free to believe whatever cockamamie load of bullshit you want within the confines of your own head, so long as you don't start claiming those things exist out in the real world too. Now, people are probably going to look at you funny, people are probably going to think you're out of your mind, but you don't have to prove anything so long as it stays inside your noggin. Go ahead, knock yourself out, I don't care. At least not until you become a danger to yourself and others, and then maybe we'll have a discussion. If you could keep it at, I believe, I probably wouldn't say. It's when you get to what I believe is actually true that you've got problems. But we'll come back to that, I'm sure.
Making this distinction is important because it helps clarify the different types of claims being made and the corresponding responsibilities for providing justification.
To be really honest, I rarely ever run into people who claim gods absolutely positively do not exist, period. And for anybody who's watched this channel for any length of time, I call those people out, just like I do for the religious. I am very consistent in this, and I think you should be too. Any claim about reality has an inherent burden of proof, no matter what that claim is. What goes on in your head, so long as you don't pretend it exists for anybody else, hey, that's on you. Of course, as I said before, if you try that, and some theists do, that just eliminates any justification you have for trying to convert anybody else to your beliefs. If it's just something in your head, if it's some aberration of your own thoughts, then what is there to convert anybody else to? Whereas I'm not trying to convert anyone because I don't give a crap what anyone else believes so long as it doesn't hurt anyone. Although I think lying to people does hurt people, pushing irrational and unjustifiable beliefs on others, that hurts people too. Encouraging magical thinking, that hurts people, so there is that. But pretty much whatever's going on in that 3-pound meat sack in your head, so long as you keep it to yourself and it doesn't negatively affect how you treat other people, I don't care, go right ahead. How am I going to know what's going on in there anyhow? So how could I possibly complain?
Whether you're a theist, atheist, lactheist, non-theist, whoever, engaging in rational discourse requires recognizing and fulfilling your burden of proof.
Only if you're making a positive claim about the real world, such that it affects and involves others. If you think there's a little man in your head driving your body around like in Men in Black, and you never tell anybody else about it, and you don't try to get anybody else to hold that belief as true as well, I don't care. I think you should still get professional help, but how would I even know that it's going on if you keep your mouth shut? Because here's something else that the religious can't handle. Most atheists, if the religious would just go the hell away and leave everybody else alone, we'd never talk about atheism again. I am not an atheist evangelist. I don't talk about this shit unless you bring it up first. Whenever it comes up, it is a response to something the religious are doing first. My channel is not evangelical atheism. It is a response to the videos made by the religious. That's why I make response videos the overwhelming majority of the time. I am not making any claims about what is going on in objective reality, and if I do, I back it up. I am demanding proof from the people who are making those claims, and sadly, those people can never meet that burden. If every theist on the planet unilaterally decided to shut the hell up, hey, I'd shut the channel down. I'm sure I could find a lot of other things to do with my time. Why don't the religious try that? Because that would sure be nice, wouldn't it? Because they can't. Because they believe they have to blab on and on and on about their imaginary friends to anyone who will listen, and let's be honest, most people who won't. So I think it's pretty safe that this channel isn't going anywhere anytime soon, and that's not because I have the burden of proof for anything. It's because the religious won't shut their fucking gobs. It's their fault, not mine.
By understanding and acknowledging the nuances of how both definitions evolve a burden of proof, we can ensure more respectful and productive conversations about the belief and disbelief in the existence of a God.
Except you still don't understand what the burden of proof is. You need to provide evidence that the positive claims that you make are actually true in objective reality. And the word positive is important, and it confuses a lot of people too, since a positive claim isn't just, this thing is true, but also, that thing is false. If you claim a thing is false, you gotta back that up too, which is why atheists who claim that there are no gods, they are making a positive claim, and that needs evidentiary support. I have seen no convincing evidence that there are any gods, which most agnostic atheists say, the people who lack belief in gods. That is not a positive claim. It does not require evidence to back it up. Saying, I haven't seen any evidence, is not saying, I know that there are no gods. Those are two entirely different things. You don't have to prove that to anyone, because that's just what's going on in your head. If you're not convinced, then you're not convinced. You're not saying that absolutely positively there are no gods, period, only that you are not convinced that there are. And that's actually a call for the religious to present evidence that what they claim is true, and we all know they're not going to do that. I mean, there could be gods, but that would require that convincing evidence that we haven't seen, and the religious haven't presented any of that yet, have they? That's why he's just making a fool of himself, because he doesn't understand the arena that he's playing in. Just like most theists that I see, he's trying to shift the burden because he can't meet it for his own claims. And that's not something to be proud of, is it?
Again, thank you for watching, and stay tuned next video where I try to delve in deeper into these concepts.
You don't even understand the basics, though. That's kind of the problem, and why he gets positively roasted in the comments of just about all of his videos. He doesn't understand what he's saying. I mean, I guess he understands what he wants to be true, but that's not the actual philosophical burden of proof that he's trying to appeal to, is it? If you say something supposedly true about the real world, you need to be able to back it up. That's all it means. If you don't say anything supposedly true, then you have no burden of proof. Of course, the religious are often convinced that everybody else has to be just like they are, and we're simply not. In other videos, he tries to say atheists all have faith, and that's absurd. Faith in what? It's just desperately running around with the goalposts to make things easier for his side. They really want to believe the stuff that makes them happy is true, even if they can't back any of it up objectively. They could all just shut their mouths and keep their beliefs to themselves, and thus nobody would ever ask them for their support because nobody would ever know what they believed. But they can't do that either, can they? It's their own damn fault that they find themselves in the hot seat. But they can't accept that, so they just try to push it off on others. That is patently irrational. But look who we're talking about, right? He even had to make a video quite a while after this whole thing started where he had to admit that theists also had a burden of proof. I don't think he ever met it in that video because I think we all know he can't, but at least he was brave enough to say so, and I will commend him for that. He still has all of his work ahead of him, though, and I don't think we should be holding our breath for him to get anywhere useful. Anyhow, we're going to stop here with only one video done because I've been realizing that since I've been rewriting these videos after the crash, all of my responses are getting much, much longer. So let me know down in the comments if you like that or not. Not that it's really going to matter, because by the time you see this, by the time you can respond, all of the rewrites will long since have been done, and the videos will be scheduled, and, it'll be too late for that. But hey, the comments are open regardless. Let me see your thoughts. That's kind of what this thing is all about, right? So go ahead and do that. Anyway, I'll see you all next time whenever I get back to this thing. And we'll come back and revisit this series sometime down the road, because doing these things one after the other, that would get kind of boring. But I don't think this is going to get any better, do you? I guess we'll have to see.